back. It is still the press, and our guests are here, like I told you. And this morning we shall be taking a look at suspension of WAEC CBT to 2030 and federal government's halt of 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. Newspaper analysis. But as usual, you know the way we do it. I start with my analysis, and first I'm taking a look at federal government's halt of 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. The federal government has suspended the implementation of the 15% import duty earlier approved on imported premium motor spirit (PMS) and diesel, following widespread concern that the policy could trigger fresh increase in fuel prices and worsen inflation. The duty, which was approved by President Bola Tinubu in October 2025, formed part of a fiscal measure aimed at aligning import costs with local production realities and supporting the growth of domestic refineries. In its latest statement, the NMDPRA says the import duty implementation is no longer in view, adding that the country currently has adequate supplies of petroleum products sourced from both local refineries and importation. That is our first focus. Now let's take a look at our second focus, which is the suspension of WAEC CBT to 2030. Now I give you the analysis. Now the House of Representatives has asked the Federal Ministry of Education and the West African Examinations Council WAEC to immediately suspend the implementation of the computer-based test CBT policy for the 2026 senior secondary school certificate examination. The House also asked the Federal Ministry of Education to work with various states to include in their 2026, 2027, 2028 and 2029 budgets the recruitment of computer teachers, construction of computer halls with internet facilities, and supply of standby generators for all secondary schools across the country. The Green Chamber called for the provisions of essential facilities in private schools before the commencement of the policy in 2030. Yes, this is our two focus this morning, and now let me do the introduction. My guest in the house, I'll begin with Solomon Adodo, is a youth advocate as well as a social affairs analyst. Mr. Solomon, it's so nice to have you on the press this morning.
Thank you very much.
You're one person that's so difficult to get hold of. I've been chasing after you for months. I'm happy to actually have you right here as my guest on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, the next guest is a friend. You already know him. Is a friend to the house. Ismaila Babatunde, who is a social affairs analyst and, of course, a weather guru. It's so nice to have you on the press this morning.
Thank you.
You all are looking so fine. It's like you guys were dressed by the same.
Well, today is Friday, so today is Friday.
Wearing the white and yes. So let us start. We're glad we're here despite all the hiccups that we experienced this morning. I love to tell you that you are first in our hearts and we do everything to serve you. Oh, we're patriotic Nigerians right here on KAFTAN TV. We do everything to serve you. The show must go on. Whether it's raining, whether it's sunny, the show must go on. We're about to go straight into our discussion this morning, and I want the phone lines displayed, on our screen, so you can be part of the conversation. Our first topic, our first focus this morning is federal government's halt of the 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. But first, I want to pick the mind of my guest, starting with Solomon. I want your state of mind on the state of the nation, Nigeria, right now, before we go deep into our first focus this morning. Your state of mind as a Nigerian, with all that's going on in the nation, there's always something new, something fresh, no matter how much it comes as a shock, but there's always something new happening. So your state of mind on the affairs of Nigeria at this moment.
Okay, well, if we talk about the affairs of Nigeria, there reflect quite a number, from issues of tackling security challenges to issues of development, the issues surrounding local refining of petroleum products and ensuring that we have adequate supply. And of course, you should know that key indicators stem from the pricing of petroleum products. Because if the petroleum products increase in price, cost of transportation increases, cost of rent and all the accompanying costs also increase. Now, what we see is that we have a president who is trying to readdress the room, correct what was an error in the past. First, we've seen that the Dangote refining company has been given so much support to stand on its feet, so that we can now have significant refining of the products we need within Nigeria. So Dangote refinery supplies us with that. That creates more jobs, that creates self-reliance and so on and so forth. Gradually it will ease out the issues of importation of petroleum products, diesel, PMS and so on and so forth. Again, in the drive for local content, to boost local content, I should believe that is what informed the initial push for that tax, but which has also been reversed. Thankfully, that reversal was healthy and timely, because if it was not done, what you would have seen would have been a sort of panic scarcity of petroleum products, and then it will have a spiking effect all across the lines of our economy. So that development, I think we'll say it's a good one from the federal government to reconsider that, and quite a number of other things are happening, which we see that this government is trying to see how to address.
Now, Solomon, the question I want to ask is for the fact that this actually, this decision was taken by the president in the first instance, despite the obvious what Nigerians are going through in the nation. Remember when the announcement was made, there was a huge uproar all over Nigeria, and not just for Nigerians in Nigeria, but of course the global community also had a say in this sudden decision made by by Tinubu, in quote, to actually implement the 15% on petrol and diesel import. The question I want to ask is, there's this feeling by Nigerians that the presidency or the president or this present administration really does not know how to read the room. And when I say they don't know how to read the room, that is feel the pulse or the pain or the sufferings of Nigerians. Though this has been reversed, but the question is, should this have been done at all at this time, bearing in mind the current situation of the economy and of course its effect on Nigerians? And when we talk about Nigerians, we need to be specific. The teeming poor in society, which is larger than those who even have. Right now, there's a thin line between haves and have not.
Okay, yes. When we talk about reading the room, I think it is for the fact that the government can read the room that there was a reversal in that. Feeling the pulse of the people, getting feedback on the felt needs, the yearnings of the people, the cries of the people that, okay, yes, this is not feasible at this material time. Again, when you find an economy that is trying to stand on its 2 feet properly, recall that I told you that so many things have been wrong. We had a kind of a house that was weak already as a result of the overburdened subsidy debacle, which was there before now, and which regime after regime or government after government administration had been paying. We also did not have our local refineries functioning. Now, the drive on the tax implementation for imported petroleum products was not something to inflict hardship on Nigeria.
It was for what?
But something to trigger. I think the main aim was to trigger local productivity. Now, when you're doing some of these things, you check your runway to see, can we take off over this period? Now, when the government realized, I'm sure maybe with consultations with major refining companies within Nigeria, such as Dangote refining company, realized that this was not going to be feasible within this short possible time. Okay, let's reverse this. Dangote refinery already is working towards doubling its capacity By the time Dangote doubles its capacity, other refineries come on stream. I think BUA is setting up a refinery also, and some other refineries come on stream. We should be able to supply the local market. I think at this time, we will now be talking about, oh, if anything is coming from outside Nigeria, then we can tax that so that it can encourage or spur local productivity.
Let me bring Ismaila into the discussion at this time. I don't know if you agree with the analysis. But first, before we go there, I still want to pick your mind on the state of the nation as we delve into this core. We're going to pick up from where Solomon stopped, but your state of mind first.
Well, currently we all are facing the harsh reality of the removal of the fuel subsidy. And you see the 15% tariff that has been lifted presently, I think it's just, it's a good move by Mr. President, because it seems to understand that Nigerians, the sufferings is not yet over. So, and Nigeria is still recovering from the economic situations, and we are yet, although we've achieved a bit of stability, but then it's not yet solid. It has not trickled down to the grassroots. So placing another 15% on the import of petroleum products now will also revert back to
whatever progress has been made.
Harsh reality. So I think for now is a good move that by Mr. President, although Nigerians are clamoring for, we need more job opportunities, more of this, and I think it is from that angle the president is trying to discourage importation so that we won't have that heavy reliance on imported product or finished product, so that it will boost our local manufacturing to spring up and also create an enabling environment for industry to thrive within our economic space.
So you agree totally with what Solomon has said, that the reason why the president implemented the 15% in the first place was to actually help the local economy to grow. You totally agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, now you've agreed. But the question I also asked before he gave the analysis was, should that have been done at all? Should that 15% be implemented? Should that decision have come from the president at all at this present time?
You see, it is easier for us to criticize, but then again, when you are in charge of an affairs, there may be some information that was available to him on the table that he has to put such consideration, most especially with the present COP30 climate change conference, that people, that the global community are trying to reduce their carbon emission. So, you know, if you could remember, there was a time they also want to impose a tax of, is it 5 or 10% on any fuel per liter of anybody who wants to buy fuel, and Nigerians are saying no to that. The reason is that they want the people who pollute the atmosphere to pay for it, for the remediation. So, but that is on that aspect. So I think for now, this 15% that we are talking about, we don't know the information, we don't know the indices that made Mr. President to make that declaration. But I want to believe that it is for the overall good and benefit of Nigerians. But then again, as long as Mr. President listens, after putting this import taxation, and he realized that no, this is not a good time, then he reverses it. That is excellent, because we don't know information that was available to him as at then, before he laid that policy. So we cannot outrightly say what he did is actually wrong also.
Okay, Solomon, for my analysis, I did say that when Tinubu approved that, made that decision, one of it was for, like you said, you actually said it to improve local production. But the analysis also said something about local refineries, that, you know, it will help boost, you know, productivity. The question I'm asking is, we all know the situation of our local refineries. You referred to what's his name, Dangote. You mentioned Dangote's refinery, but you didn't mention refineries that we have. Nigerian refineries have been moribund for years. Refineries where millions of dollars have been pumped into to refurbish, to repair, whatever has been said to make the refineries to start running again. You didn't mention that. Instead, you used Dangote's refinery as an example. What do you have to say about our own refinery, the country's refineries that have been moribund thus far? How do you apply that to the present situation? If we do not make those refineries to start running again, and we're taking a look or using an example of one single individual, Aliko Dangote, who came up and gave us what the whole world is looking at right now. I keep using, it's a paradox, because in my head that's the way it plays, that our own refineries are not working, and yet we do not, in quote, we don't have solutions to these problems.
Okay, you see, this tells you something very clearly, because I followed the developments around the Port Harcourt refinery and the Kaduna refinery, and at some point significant progress was made under Mr. Mele Kyari in bringing the refinery to life. So I do not know the sustenance of that tempo of achievements. That is number one. Number two, we should also clearly see that government should focus more on enabling business rather than handling business frontally. What the government did was to create an enabling environment for Dangote to thrive, give all the business support, financing facilities, and policies and all of that, including this one, which I believe would have triggered. But of course, capacity needs to be built, and issues of refinery are not things you just snap your finger and then you get going. It's not like a switch. There are processes, some of them that may take even years to install, certain distillators, chambers, and so on and so forth, whatever catalytic units, all those things that are installed in the refinery. Some of them take so much time to install. So you see Dangote is flourishing there. What we need from the government is to see how to identify more private sector entities, give them all the needed support, and let them drive this process. Even the refinery in Port Harcourt and the refinery in Kaduna, let us know the state of this
refinery in Warri too.
Yes, and in Warri, let there be a proper evaluation, and let's see if there can be a partnership between the private sector and the government. That will make for more efficiency. All hands will be on deck. Recall that at some point, I think the refinery was sold to Dangote until it was later reversed, So you see, if Dangote had handled that refinery, what we're having in Lagos would have been so several miles ahead. So the government needs to have a deeper introspective look at where we are with these refineries, what is it costing us as a nation, and what is the most plausible way forward. But while that is being done, we must not discourage private sector investors, and we should rely more on them to see how to drive this process. And this is what should be done even across all sectors, where the government is also injecting funds to major agricultural firms to see how to boost food production, injecting funds to technology hubs and so on and so forth, focusing on renewable energy. So if we have all of these things across board, you can see that gradually the economy will be moving at a rapid pace to grow again.
Okay, if you just joined us, it is the press this morning, and I have a full house of gentlemen who love Nigeria, taking their time to be here to ensure that we discuss these issues. But again, I know you love Nigeria as you watch the show. The phone lines will be on your screen. If they're not on the screen already, please do call in and be part of the conversation. We'll take a break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Yes, welcome back. Appreciate you for being right there, just waiting to be part of the conversation. Even if you're not calling in, I'm glad to know that you're watching, because our reach is very, very wide as we get calls from all over Nigeria. And of course, we're seeing in some parts of the West African region. Okay, my guests are still here as we discuss our first focus, which is federal government's halt of 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. Before the break, Solomon was actually analyzing and giving us his view on the refinery in Nigeria, the moribund refineries. But now I want to ask Ismaila this very important question. Ismaila, please, is it not possible that we can copy, the federal government can take an idea from the achievement of Dangote? Since we've spent so much millions over the years, I've been this little. No, I've been this little. No, this little. Since they've been investing, repairing the refineries, millions, billions, trillions have gone into it. Yeah. Don't you think it is a time? It is time for the federal government to rebuild again. Like the phoenix. You see, the phoenix rebuilds itself from the ashes. It grows and comes very beautiful and regal. Don't you think it is time to just forget about these old refineries and start from the scratch? So all those monies being put into repairs and refurbishing and what have you, we use it to build a refinery as Dangote has done, so we start all over again.
Well, you see, I don't know. I want to believe the federal government should not be greedy. I think they shouldn't have the direct hands in running the affairs of a refinery. I think all the 3 refineries that we have should be privatized. So the role that the federal government should play is to implement policy and do oversight. They might have a stake in the refinery, but they should take off 70% ownership of the refinery to the private sector. Let the private sector runs it. Why they do oversight, bring out regulatory framework to guide this innovation. Believe me, if a private sector took over those refineries, they will run, because no private individual or no private company wants to run at loss. So definitely they will ensure that they do all what they can to make sure that the refinery is back to life and it will work optimally.
Ismaila, if you have these ideas and I have the same idea, Solomon has the same idea, how come the federal government does not have it?
Now, that is why I said the federal government should not be greedy. And again, you see, we are not doing much on research and development. We are not conducting enough of visibility study and surveys. If they've done that, I believe the economic powers around Mr. President, they knows better. I think maybe or maybe not, maybe they've advised Mr. President, because there is something that you advise somebody is left for him either to take it or not. So I want to believe that all of this idea is not something new. It's not rocket science. So why is the delay, and why is it taking time for them to privatize this refinery? These refineries need to be privatized if we really want it to work. But maybe some selfish Nigerians are behind it. They don't want it to work because they can see it as an avenue to loot the treasury. Because that's what I see. Because over the past, all the money that has been spent in these refineries, we've not heard of the EFCC going after them. We've not heard of ICPC going after them, tracking some of this funds that has been spent in this refinery to bring back right from while I was in primary school up to this moment.
This big.
Exactly. I haven't heard any full-scale audit of the NNPC of all our refineries. I beg your pardon. Of all our refineries.
And all the money that have been put
into it to revitalize the refinery, I have not seen any tangible outcome that, okay, so billions of dollars has been recovered.
And there's someone there's someone who can hold accountable
to this. And because most of, even the refurbishing, we don't really see the, what will I say, the contracts, the terms
no
of
transparency.
There's no transparency. The terms of negotiation, the company that is handling it, how much the bidding, and all of this and that. So That is why I think without privatization, I don't think those refineries can really work.
Please do call in and be part of the conversation. The phone lines are on your screen. Call in and have your say on the show because your opinion matters on this space. Very, very important. Because of our time, we're going to move on straight on now to our second focus, but it doesn't mean if you call in you have any other thing to discuss, you cannot talk it on the show. I usually have a guest that calls from Arochukwu. I don't know why he hasn't been calling on my feed. He will just digress and he can even talk about sunshine away from the economy, but his opinion matters on the show. That's why the show was created, all for you. All right, let us move on now to the education sector. We're done with the first focus. Let's take a look at suspension of WAEC CBT to 2030. And when all this started a couple of days ago, it got me wondering that in 2025, as great as Nigeria is, if you follow the show, if you follow my discussion, I'm never tired of letting you know how vested I am in this nation, how much I know how great Nigeria is. As a Nigerian, I know that we are great people, but we are the most intelligent in the world, if you ask me. The world will attest to that. Take a record of all the institutions, foreign institutions, where you have Nigerians go to school with records, even old records. We surpass them. We end up having the greatest results everywhere we go. In the United States, Nigerians are the most cooled, as it were. They know these things. But the question is, why is it difficult for us as a people? In our nation, a country that has such statistics, a country that has such a human and capital superiority, we find it difficult to implement these rules as a people in our nation. So when I saw this, I'm asking myself, in 2025, we can go ahead with the CBT. Because of the obvious educational sector, the situation in the educational sector. And this is where Solomon comes in. This is my reaction that I've told you. I want your reaction. In 2025, we cannot confidently have CBT exams in all in our schools, and it's been deferred to 2030. Your reaction?
Okay, thank you very much. These are reforms, and reforms have to be a place where there are adequate infrastructure to back these reforms. First, you look at the schools that you'll be dealing with. You are dealing with both public schools and private schools. There is the issue of regulation for the private schools, and then there is the issue of infrastructure support for government schools. If we are to set up these CBT centers all across the country, we need to set them to a particular standard. Remember, we are talking about examinations. And for an examination to be an examination, the integrity of that examination must be at a pristine level. If it is not, then it is not an examination. If it is just something that, random glitches can occur here and there, that tilt it this way or tilt it that way, that affect the state of mind of the student, which we must not tamper with or joke with. We are talking about students who have a future ahead of them. So if the infrastructure has not been set in place properly, I think the wisest thing is to take time and to set everything in proper perspective. Of course, we know that the world is advancing and all, and Nigeria is also making its own fair share of progress. Our public schools, if you look around, our public schools, most of them are significantly changing. But again, there are two tiers, and this is where we have a kind of error, where all the focus is beamed on the federal government, even in issues like education, which the state and local government should focus on critically. We don't beam the light on them. And civil society organizations, youth groups, and indeed all Nigerians, should be on their toes to put these state governments and the local governments on their toes. We have what is the Universal Basic Education Program, where state governments are expected to bring certain amount of funds while the federal government matches them and gives them grants. You find that year after year, most of the state governments do not bring up to their quota.
Let me ask
that's where you have the challenge we are in. So there needs to be a serious drive for that. But for the push or for the advanced shifting of the date forward, I think what we're doing is we're doing well. We need to set infrastructure so we do not tamper with the future of these great minds of Nigeria.
Okay, Ismaila, talking about infrastructure, because I was shocked when the Green Chamber called for the provision of essential facilities in private schools before the commencement of the policy in 2030. There was no mention about non-private schools, which make up more of the schools that we have. Private schools came up when in Nigeria? Let's take a look at the government schools or the local schools, as it were. We're talking about infrastructure. How has those fared? We have schools where you don't even have chairs for students to sit on.
Exactly.
There are schools where you don't even have roof.
Exactly.
There are students sit under the trees in Nigeria in 2025. Let's go back to the grassroots and try to marry the reality and the grassroots to the CBT, as it were, with the Green Chamber concentrating on private schools rather than all schools in Nigeria. So it is worrisome for me. I would really want your reaction. The grassroots first, because if we can't get it there, then I feel we're not ready.
I think that is why I said our government are not doing a lot of feasibility studies and conducting their survey properly. Because I work in the field. When you go to a basic public school, not within the city center, even places like Nasarawa, Kogi, go to a local government, you see how dilapidated all those structures are. And you want to conduct a CBT in such a situation where they don't even have a computer. Some students have not even set their eyes on a complete set of a computer in this 2025, and you want to conduct a CBT exam for them. I think if they want to do such a thing, I think they should do this. I think maybe they are just looking at only the FCT, the city centers, they are well-equipped foundations or NGOs.
Is this supposed to be that way? Because support. I didn't write this.
If you look, even in the FCT today, our local government are in charge of some of our, that's in primary education, because there's no how it will still affect primary education. But now, let me even come back to the secondary education. Most of their computer labs, most of the computers in those labs are no more functioning. You can only have, in a space where you have maybe 50 computers, you can hardly see 15 working perfectly in some of these public schools. If at all they are working, you hardly find 15 working. Now, what about the skills and the training? Some teachers are not computer literate. Some teachers don't even know how to operate these computers, and now you want to enroll students into
for
CBT. I think is a right call for the suspension till 2030, so that we'll be able to go back to the drawing board, map out how we are going to plan this, how are we going to integrate the teachers who will now transfer this knowledge to the students, equip our computer labs, upgrade our school to a standard. Just like my brother has said, we need to put our school to a certain standard of pristine. There should be a standard. It shouldn't just be just roof and this thing, then you just bring in chairs and table and just put people there. What about energy? If you're now talking about computer, you need energy. So what is the source of power? How are they going to get? Is it where we don't have 24 hours power supply, or we are even seeing that in JAM, that even as they are writing exam and power went off and the thing submitted, the students have not even finished their exam, and the next day we are still having that issue. Even within our system here. Now you want to move it to a larger scale. It will be hell. It will be in fact, majority of the students will be disadvantaged.
Now, let me come in here. You know, you have to pass your GST before you graduate. I remember when I was in university and computer science was being taught, all we got was a handout. All we got was a handout. I never saw one computer all through my GST years in the university. It was all on paper. All the prompts, everything was on paper. So you had to read and cram. Not that you actually knew or know what you were reading. The handout was given to you as computer science, and you have to pass it to graduate. So all we did was buy the handout, read you sort of the picture, the caricature painting of a computer. You have to cram. And that's the way I graduated. That's the way I went to university. There was no computer lab in my school, and I never saw one computer until I graduated. Spent 5 years in the university, never saw one. And it is straight. I graduated like 2,000 years ago. It is shocking that 2,000 years after my graduation, some primary, secondary schools have never seen a computer. The teachers do not. Some of them have not seen computers. They are not computer literate, and you're expected to teach students who will go and do CBT. Like we talked on the petroleum and diesel issue, the 15%. Why, knowing that we have all these problems, the question is, why did we go CBT in the first place? Solomon, why did we go there first when children still read under the sun?
Like you rightly noted aforetime, these are times of technological advancement, and so we must make these advancements no matter how difficult they may seem. And if along the line we discover that we do not have sufficient equipment, what we need to do is to re-strategize. There needs to be a total revamping of our educational system, and this is where I will repeat, citizens need to hold particularly the state governments accountable. Now, thankfully we are here on the news medium that reaches out to millions of Nigerians, and I would like Nigerians to know that it is our push, it is our thought process, it is a combination or a collection of all of our actions and thoughts and perception towards government that shape the government. The direction we push the government significantly determines where the government goes, no matter how it is. And so there has been a focus on the federal government at every point in time. So if there's power outage at home today, we turn and we say, oh, what is Tinubu doing? We have forgotten that the power sector is now run by electricity distribution companies, which are not government entities any longer. So the government has limited. We have the generating companies, which are also private entities. They are also there. So we Nigerians need to know where we should mount the pressure on. And on this, I think there needs to be sufficient pressure on the state governments and even the local governments. State governments should be triggered to set up standard schools, not just under the tree like my colleague stated here. Not this just saying you have a building, a structure, a roof over, and then you just gather pupils and you put them in there, you stuff them in there, and you say you have a school. No, there are certain parameters that must be met, and so the state government must be kept on their toes. This needs to be done, and done as fast as possible. If this is not done, 2030 will come and we'll still be faced with the same problem. But if we begin to implement this, there needs to be a monitoring team that will be set up. Even if the civil society come in, citizens monitoring team come in, let's see what these state governments are doing in terms of having schools that are standard, schools that can meet up, schools that are at par with what you have all over the world. So it should not just be private schools we're talking about. We should be talking about our public schools, schools that when pupils come out of, they should be able to hold their own anywhere in the world that they are.
Yeah.
Now, as a field man, you actually gave us an analysis of your discovery on ground as a field man, and I really appreciate that. But the same question that I asked Solomon is the same question I'm asking you. Why go CBT when we already know? Now, the leaders that we elect to serve us, they are our brothers, our sisters, our husbands, our friends, our cousins, our uncles. They come from homes, not from mass. So they are aware of the challenges that we face as Nigerians. The reason why they want to be elected, and the reason why we elect them, because they promise to serve. So it's not like when they get there, they now forget where they're coming from, or they forget the problems. The seat of power is not in another sphere, different from here, but unfortunately that is the way it appears. Like there is a sphere where those in government live, while we ordinary Nigerians live somewhere else. So the question is, why go CBT when they know that children still go to school under the weather, under the sun? Why go CBT? All the monies have been put into this process, only for it to be stalled now, and we're talking 2030. Why go CBT?
I think WAEC did not make a wider consultation from all stakeholders. That is why they didn't get it right at this time, and it calls for the suspension, which I quite agree with.
Why go CBT?
No,
in the first instance, with all the challenges.
They didn't do their survey. They didn't do their feasibility study. That is Nigerian matured enough to go total CBT? If there was a wider consultations before now, they would have seen the gaps, they would have seen the lapses that we have in the education system, that these things is not going to be visible. Is not going to be achieved within this very short period of time. If they've done their wider consultation, bring civil society, brings in the state government, bring in the local government, and go verify on site to do this oversight, they wouldn't have come up that they want to do an outright CBT. They would have either introduced maybe like, okay, for 5 years, let's say those that are within the capital city or the city centers who have a bit of infrastructure that could support the CBT, they would have, okay, let's do it in 2 ways. Whoever wants to choose a CBT, or rather CBT is available in so centers and so schools. But pen and paper is available in these areas. Why they work on how they will improve on the facilities, so that students will gradually integrate the system systematically. It won't just be like outright that, oh, all of you must do this in this particular order. No, it doesn't work that way. So they need to do a wider consultations among, most especially the local government, that is being run by the local government chairman and the state government. And that is why I also want to thank Mr. President for ensuring that the local government have its autonomy. And again, from the civil society angles, they are doing a bit of advocacy and awareness, giving people this information that there is allocation to your local government. So ask them questions, demand for your rights. It is not a privilege, demands for your rights. So, and I think over time, all of this will start materializing. We'll start seeing people challenging the status quo, people coming up to challenge the state government, to ask them that, okay, give us the account of this, let us have this in place. And I think it will come to that.
Yes, it is still the press and no calls yet. This morning, I don't know why, we've had 3 missed calls, but that's when I was doing the weather report. But since then, we haven't gotten any call. I want to plead with you to call to be part of the conversation as we take a look at very, very important issues that concerns us as Nigerians. So let me move on now to Solomon. Solomon, we're talking about the educational sector. There's a need for improvement. There's a need for change. There's a need for us to go with the tide. There's a need for us to go technological. But unfortunately, there seems to be a setback. For me, with this sudden change in till 2030, for me, it really doesn't go. It doesn't go down well. That's why I'm asking: how do we begin to improve, Mr. Solomon? How do we begin to improve the educational sector in Nigeria, in your opinion?
Okay. First of all, stakeholders must all be holistically involved. I have been involved with quite a number of these education stakeholders. We had one with the NCC, National Commission for Colleges of Education. We've had several others where even international development partners are also coming. So all stakeholders, all hands must be on deck. But you see, education is one of the critical things that rights of the citizen, the right to education. And who is to provide this more? We focus on the state government. So I'll keep emphasizing that the state government must be put on their toes. Nigeria is at a point where we cannot afford to toy with anything that concerns the forward voyage of this country. We are at the point where if any component is to play its role, then everyone must put pressure on that component to say, play your role. And when these roles are played effectively, then we will have a great society that can be said to advance. Without education, we will not be making any progress as a country. All what we've made as progress in terms of technological advancement, in terms of policies, in terms of even issues of governance, is all premised on the degree to which we have been educated as a people. Primary and secondary education, which we have now termed as basic education, particularly 1 to 9, are not things that we should trifle with. They are not things that we should joke with. So what we need more is reforms, and reforms that put the state government particularly on their toes, while the federal government also focuses on the higher levels of education to see how we can set up all of these things. Again, there should be a fair monitoring process for schools, because we have a situation today where just anybody wakes up and then we say we have schools coming up or sprouting up here and there. So the government authorities, the ministries of education, should have a monitoring framework where you monitor all what the private schools are doing. Are they keeping up with the curriculum, the education curriculum? That's number one. Do they have adequate facilities? Do we have schools like in city centers where you have just limited space, and so we have schools just cram pupils, students into classes and lots, just to say, okay, we are having a school here. So all of these things need to be done, and we must not make a joke over issues of education.
We have a call.
Okay,
Solomon, please, we have a call. I'm so excited. The first call. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hillary, and I'm calling from
From where?
I'm calling from Taraba State.
Okay, go ahead, Hillary.
Actually, I want to talk about this particular question that you asked. None of them answered it.
Which of the question?
When you said, why go CBT?
Okay.
None of them answered it. Why go CBT at the first place? Why you know the problem on ground in Nigeria?
Go ahead.
He did not answer the first person. I'm sorry, but I did not take name. the first person you asked the question did not answer that question. The second guy over there also did not answer the question.
So, in your opinion, what do you think? What answer were you expecting?
I was expecting them to go direct, exactly in the point whereby they went CBT at the first place because they focused more on the township. Like, let's just say, like, on the big schools. Like, let me say, how will I put it? Like public schools, or let's say in town. Well, let's just take example like Lagos, for example. Lagos as a big city, it is. Let's just say like my brother here says reform, like send supervisor for reform to be brought back. If all these things are done, like let's just say a person is sent, he's only going to the capital. When it comes to the state, he's only going to the capital city. He's not going to go into the local government that many schools are not they are not very, let me just say, poor, are too poor to even have a student inside. They will not go deep. They will just go to the township where this school is advanced. Everything, they may get those things that is being, let's just say, like the CBT they just went now. Those things, let's say Lagos now, Abuja, all those things will be available. You go to the capital, any public school in the capital, all those things will be available, and that's where they are going exactly. And they will find out that those things are available. They will just assume that all the states had something like that.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. I understand what you're saying, but I have to correct you. They did actually mention everything that you were saying now. Maybe, I don't know when you joined us, but I remember Ismaila saying exactly what you were saying now. As a field person, you know, he did say that he feels the problem is the focus on the city and not the local government. That's what he said. As a field person, he knows what's on ground. That's how we came about the fact that there are schools without roofs, there are schools without even chairs where people sit on the floor, not just in primary schools, even secondary schools all over Nigeria. All over Nigeria. We can even begin to talk about schools in the northern part of the nation or the middle belt. It is all over Nigeria, and that is the reality. And we did say those in government come from these places. When they leave Abuja, they go back to their villages. If they've forgotten that they actually left there to come to the seat of government, they do go back to attend burials, weddings, and what have you. And the reality is there. So it is shocking that we will jump all through that and go to CBT and make decisions that we make. Then we'll come back and say we're not moving forward with them just because they met certain problems. If only the research has been done, like he said, we will not even embark on these policies or decisions, and we will not need to go halfway and return, stalling all development, as it were. My guest, they did answer that question. So because of time, we are rounding up. We're asking solutions to improving our educational sector. Solomon gave his, and I want yours very seriously.
I think first is for us to conduct a research and development. I still maintain that anytime a policy, they need to introduce a new policy, they should do their feasibility study. They should not just stay from the center and determine. They should go down, trickle down to the grassroots. They should go there and verify. Let them have a one-on-one encounter with the reality of the situation in the most remote community. Not within this. They should go down to the most remote community to find out, to get their first-hand information before they come back. And when they come back, they should have a wider and a broader consultations before they would be able to take a formal decision or a direction towards a new policy or a new development.
Now, I don't know if you've seen the video of the Makoko. the people who live in Makoko, those people live on stilt houses. Where did they go to school? On canoes. On canoes. And look, I'm talking on what I've seen, not as one who has done a deep research. If the Nigerian government provides education for those children living on stilt houses, or if the teachers are provided by the federal government of Nigeria for those students, those children, those pupils on canoes in the Makoko area of Lagos State. But I didn't know that people come from all over the world. Foreigners come in and sponsor. NGOs come in and sponsor, both in Nigeria and mostly outside Nigeria. You go to Makoko right now, you see foreigners with light skin right there providing education for those pupils, right, or students right there, to make sure they're educated, they're carried along. How do you fix all of these into what we have and come up with a CBT? We talked about electricity, we talked about teachers not even being computer literate. You want to add something?
Yes, there's something. There's another mistake that I've seen that they want to do again in the area of the energy, because I heard them mentioning generator that will be run on diesel or on petrol. You see, when we are thinking of the solution, we should think about the sustainability, the long-time plan of this. Where we have solar, we don't need generator anymore. So who is going to fuel it? You know, remember, there are some remote communities today that they don't have access. There's no filling station close to them. In fact, that guy I called from Taraba, I was in Taraba about 2-3 months ago. The distance from there are some certain very deep local community where there is school, you have to travel up to like 20 kilometers before you can get where where you can get a filling station. So how are you going to how are you going to sustain that? It is not sustainable. Whatever the plan that they are having, please let them go solar. I think solar or wind. Their alternative energy is far better than saying that they want to provide them a generator,
provide diesel, provide petrol, then halfway we run into glitches again to say, they can't afford it, the monies. Of course, like we talk about accountability, unfortunately, it's not because I'm saying it. I'm a Nigerian, so okay, I have the license to say the way I feel, which is the truth. As we come in here to get the feel of the Nigerian people, again, when it comes to transparency, we do not have the data. There is no data. We cannot say 2 naira was spent. We cannot verify 2 naira was spent. There is no verification, no data. We only take what is given to us, as it were. If authorities, this program is watched all over Nigeria, please, instead of petrol or diesel, let us go solar. Let us go. We can use wind.
Let us go renewable energy, far away from fuel or diesel. So the weatherman has spoken in terms of what is right, and I totally agree with him. We are finally rounding up on the show, and the way we do it right here, I give my guests the opportunity to speak in their dialect to their people, and we're still going to do that today. But before we do that, we have a couple of minutes from the 2 topics that we've discussed. Solomon, please round up your final take on the 2 topics that we've discussed today before we do the rest.
First of all, education is crucial to the development of any society. We want to use this medium to call on the government, particularly the state governments, who have roles to play in basic education significantly. Let us not toy with education. Let's focus on equipping schools. The world is making advances, and we should also move at rapid pace. Nigerians are some of the best citizens all over the world.
The best.
In terms of intellectual prowess,
the best.
In terms of inventiveness, in terms of innovations. So we should harness these potentials for the good of our country. Again, on the issue of the reforms in the petroleum industry, I think we have passed through our worst days. What should be happening are the better days that are coming. Thankfully, Mr. President, as a listening leader, has reversed that proposed tax, and we are looking forward to a time where our refineries should, in real essence, be able to saturate and super saturate the local market with supply of basic petroleum products.
Okay.
Once we concentrate on local refining, we know that new jobs will be created. There'll be a ripple effect. What we call jobs are just like, okay, setting up something and engaging people. So if we do not refine here, we are employing people outside Nigeria. At any rate, there are also effluents that come out of the refining process that can be used in the plastic industry, that can be used as pesticides, herbicides, that can be used in agriculture for fertilizer, and so on and so forth.
Okay, because of time, I want you to go straight on to finish with us, and just in 30 seconds, speak in your dialect to your people on the 2 topics and any message you have for your people. That's the way we do it here. I'll put you on the spot.
I'm from all over Nigeria,
so
I don't speak any one language.
Pick one.
I just speak English.
Pick one.
Or maybe I'll speak Pidgin English.
Speak
so Nigerians, I agree to now make we work together for the good of our country. Make we see areas where we go partner with the government, but make we still hold government accountable. We get only one country, and we must build the country together.
Thank you so much. So Ismaila, your final take on the 2 topics, and of course in Yoruba, you will most round up for us. So
well, why the federal government is buying time to stabilize the economy by the removal of the 15% tax. The WAEC, I think, is also buying time in building their capacity to see how they can improve in their CBT proposed examination. But in overall, I want to urge all the stakeholders that whatever they want to do, they should ensure that they prioritize their research, do their proper findings before they put out a policy or a direction, or give a direction towards it. It is not good enough for us to issue a directive and still step it back. It's not giving investors confidence enough. So they should do their proper research before making a formal declaration. Thank you so much. Well, I am originally a Yoruba. I'm a Nigerian, but I'm from the Yoruba. And I want to greet my people, although I'm not too fluent, but I'm trying my best.
So go ahead, please.
Ọmọ Yorùbá ní tilé toko, mo bẹ̀ yín wípé ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe dáadáa, ẹ jẹ́ ká hùwà ọmọlúwàbí, ká dẹ̀ ran àwọn ìjọba lọ́wọ́ láti ṣètò ohun tó máa mú ìlú wa rọrùn fún gbogbo wa, láti ká ní ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀, ká dẹ̀ ní ìtẹ̀síwájú. So,
yes, I want to appreciate my guest this morning. I want to appreciate Solomon Adodo, who's a youth advocate as well as a social affairs analyst. Thank you, Solomon, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hope to see you more, not in the next 5-6 months. Thank you so much. And of course, Ismaila Babatunde, who is a social affairs analyst as well as a weather or climate guru, right? Thank you, Ismaila, for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
And of course, those of you who didn't call on the show today, you didn't call me on the show, I want to thank you for not calling, but watching the show. I know definitely that you people watch the show. I know say wahala too much for the country. Even if you are not call, I know say now they watch the show, and I'm happy that you watch. Imagine getting a call all the way from Taraba. And that's the way we get the calls. We get the calls from Delta, from Edo, from Taraba, from Benue, from Kaduna, from Port Harcourt, from Calabar. We get the calls all over. I don't know what happened, why we couldn't get the calls today, but I trust my people that you watch the show. The show continues next week, Monday to Friday. Please do call in on the show because the show was created for you to have a say. We only bring guests in here to help understand the topic, but again, we're waiting for you to call to be part of the conversation. So ensure you call Monday to Friday. If all things goes well, I hope to see you on Tuesday again on the show. And before then, keep your head up and stay positive. Keep moving. Never lose hope, because tomorrow the sun will shine again. My name is Anire Binitie. Enjoy the rest of your day.